welcome to Thursday's lesson for the 7th of January 2021. Now, this video is for your English warm-up today. So, I'm going to start today with the sentence that I left you with yesterday. As the sun was setting on Christmas Eve, an elderly unicorn who was known to be greedy disappeared after eating 122 mince pies. Perhaps she exploded. Now, specifically this morning, I'm looking at this section here. We added this extra information because we wanted to find out more about the unicorn. And I think I briefly explained yesterday that this is called a relative clause. And it slots into a sentence, really great for upskilling your writing and extending your sentences. So what are relative clauses? Let's have a look. As I said, relative clauses add more information to a sentence. Again, I have a perfectly reasonable sentence. The dancer practiced non-stop. But you could add a variety of relative clauses to give us more information about the dancer. Here are some examples. The dancer who desperately wanted to appear on the television practiced non-stop. The dancer who learnt his skills from his mother practiced non-stop. The dancer whose love of dance grew daily practiced non-stop. Now, why are these called relative clauses? Well, if you think about what a relative is someone you're related to. It's somebody that you're linked to. This bit of description here links back to the dancer. This bit of description links back to the dancer. This bit of description refers back or links to the dancer. And the word that begins the relative clause helps to make the link. So the who is the dancer. The who there is the dancer. So relative clauses have to begin with specific words. They begin with relative pronouns like who, that, whose and which. There are many other relative pronouns, but we're just looking at those for today. Let's look at where you would use these 4 different relative pronouns. Who is used if you're referring back or linking to an actual person. For example, the dancer who desperately wanted to appear on television practiced non-stop. We're referring back to a person, a human, so we use the relative pronoun who. Right, you will need, for the next part, a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper. So if you need to stop the video and go and get those things, off you go now. So, some writing time. What I would like you to do is use my sentence but change the relative pronoun in it. So take out the red bit, write the word who and write your own relative clause that would fit into this sentence. So, the dancer who was only 15 years old. The dancer who lived in Cheshunt practiced non-stop. You change the relative clause in this sentence to give me some more information about the dancer. Stop the video and have a go. Now, we've looked at the word who. Let's now look at the relative pronoun which. Which is used if you're referring back to an object or an animal. Let's have a look at an example. The cat, which had been rescued from the RSPCA, drank thirstily. We're referring back to an animal, so we use the word which. You can also see here that when I've put these clauses in the middle of a sentence, I've added commas around them to show that I've embedded that clause, I've added that extra information. So, some more writing time. I want you to take out the relative clause that I've used and think of one of your own that would fit in that sentence. You'll need to use the word which. Turn the video off now and have a go. Let's have a look at the relative pronoun that. That can be used if you're referring to people, objects or animals, so it's quite versatile. Here's an example. The book that I read last week has really grabbed my interest. We're referring back to an object this time, so we use that. As you can see, this sentence reads a lot better without a comma before the relative clause. There aren't any definite rules, you just need to read through your sentence and decide whether you think you need commas either side or whether the sentence reads better without it. So, some more writing time. Take out my relative clause, keep the relative pronoun that, and have a go at writing your own sentence with a different relative clause in it. Turn the video off, give it a go. The final relative pronoun that we're going to talk about is the word whose. Whose is used to show possession. Let's have a look at an example. The girl whose cat is missing is rather distressed. So the cat is the thing that's missing, so it's a possession of the girl. So we have to use the word whose. Right, get your pen and pencil ready because you've got a little bit of practice with relative clauses and relative pronouns. I'm going to give you some sentences and I'd like you to read them through and see if you can spot the relative clause and just write out the relative clause against the number of the sentence. Do remember the relative clause doesn't always sit in the middle of the sentence. It can go at the end. What you're looking for is one of those relative pronouns. Who, which, that or whose. That will give you the clue as to where the relative clause is. Stop the video and have a go at spotting these relative clauses. How did you get on? In the first sentence, who has black hair? In the second sentence, that we met in France. In the third sentence, whose teeth were blunt. In the fourth sentence, who bought my house. And in the fifth sentence, which have a powerful message. Your second activity is to try and come up with your own relative clauses to slot into the gaps in these sentences. I've given you the relative pronouns, who, that, which and whose, to get you going. Just see if you can come up with a really good relative clause that would fit well either in the middle or at the end of these sentences. Stop the video and have a go. Here are my ideas. Yours might look very different. The man who never seems to stop working is a doctor. These are the earrings that I bought last week. The dog that was a cross between a poodle and a Labrador growled noisily. This is the girl whose shoes went missing. Okay, your main English activity today is more poetry with Simon Mole. Once again, the link to his video and the instructions for writing the poetry are on Google Classroom. And once again, just to remind you, as you work through the instructions or the video, you are literally making notes in rough. It isn't until you've gathered all your ideas together that you finally decide which ones you want to put into your poem. As per yesterday, I would love to see your poetry when you've completed it. If you don't want to write it out and photograph it, you can always film yourself reading it, and that would be a different way of sharing it with us. Good luck.